So today we're going to take a look at cleaning units and how to calculate them for your pressure washer. And we're also going to take a look at the math behind it and why it's probably not the best unit to use. So stick around. We're going to get behind the computer. We're going to write out some equations and show you what you can use in replacement for cleaning units. So enjoy. So the question we're trying to answer is, what's more important, flow rate or pressure? Right? So we have pressure washers that come in different flavors, right? And they come in, so if we look at the flow rate and pressure, they come in flavors like this, right? 1.2 GPM. GPM stands for gallons per minute. I apologize to my international friends. I'm not going to do liters or SI units because, well, in the US market, these are what the numbers are. So we have 1.2 gallons per minute, and usually around, I think, 1800 PSI, right? And then we have other pressure washers that are 2 gallons per minute and closer to 1000 PSI. Something that has been taught, I guess, in the detailing world is something called cleaning units. Right. And cleaning units are when you take your flow rate and multiply it by your pressure. So first off, something that you're noticing probably right away before we get into cleaning units, something you notice right away is that, well, when we have a high flow rate, our pressure decreases, and we have a low flow rate, our pressure increases. And really what you're actually seeing is that pressure is a resistance to flow, right? The only way to get more flow rate is by reducing pressure. The only way to get more pressure is by reducing flow rate. They go hand in hand. And the reason they go hand in hand is because we have an amperage limit that we need to stay under. So it will make sense in a minute why that's so related, right? And it's actually through cleaning units. So cleaning units, flow rate times pressure. Now these are kind of hard numbers. So we're going to change this to just 1 gallon per minute. And we'll change this number to 2000 PSI. It makes the numbers a little bit easier to swallow, right? And understand. So what is the trade-off here? Well, when we do cleaning units, flow rate times pressure, we find that, all right, if we take 1 GPM, multiply it by 2000, well, we get 2000 cleaning units. That's a 3. We get 2000 cleaning units. Well, if we take 2 gallons a minute and multiply it by 1000 PSI, you see the dilemma, 2000 cleaning units. We've not answered the question of what matters more, flow rate or pressure. Some people say, well, if you want more cleaning power, an actual power to blast off dirt, go with the higher pressure unit. If you want more rinsing power, go with the flow rate unit, the 2 gallon per minute unit. And it turns out that that's not quite how it works either, right? Cleaning units, it turns out, is the formula used to calculate the power of a hydraulic motor. So what we're actually seeing here, improving, is that a pressure washer that has these numbers, when you compare them against each other, require the same amount of power to operate. Flow rate times pressure, I had seen that before, right? These use the exact same amount of power. And it is the power formula. It's just missing one thing, right? So the formula for power is equal to pressure times flow rate. So engineering world, Q is typically flow rate times N, right? And N is some number that represents the efficiency of your pressure washer. So no pressure washer is perfect, right? It's just using the same amount of power. So that's all cleaning units is actually saying, is how much power you're using. So it's not really telling you how much cleaning power you have. Cleaning power is much different. So I went on a little venture here to try and figure out cleaning power. Which one of these two in this scenario has more cleaning power? And that's a little bit more difficult to answer, but not that much. What we really want to look at is impact force. Right? So impact force takes into account the velocity and the amount of water that is coming out of the nozzle. And it's slightly different, but it is, impact force is being derived from flow rate and pressure. So it turns out impact force, and this is from the water jet industry. The numbers are not going to be 1-to-1 in terms of, this is not an exact number for how much impact force you're going to see, but we can answer this question, right? So impact force equals 0.052 times the square root of your pressure times flow rate. Now, when you plug these numbers, and we'll call this PW1 and PW2, okay? When you sub these numbers into the impact force equation, you get a difference. So we'll take pressure washer 1 is equal to 0.052 times the square root of 2000 times 1. And that equals 2.33. I did write this down ahead of time. Now, if we look at pressure washer 2, that equals the same formula, 0.052 times the square root of 1000 psi times 2 gallons per minute. That comes out to 3.29. We did it. We answered that question. Pressure washer 2 with more flow and less pressure has a higher impact force than pressure washer number 1. That answers this question up here, which has plagued auto detailers for thousands of years. Which of these two, if they have the same amount of cleaning units, which one is going to give you more cleaning power? We can figure that out through impact force, but it still doesn't answer the question of what matters more, flow rate or pressure, right? And if there's anything to take away from this, it's that they're related, right? We need to stay under this 15 amp limit. Pressure is a result of friction inside your system. It is a result of the orifice size of your nozzle. So, it is a result of the length and diameter of your hose. All of those things contribute to increased pressure or decreased pressure. If you open things up, you'll see a decrease in your resistance to flow. You'll see a lower pressure in your system. So they go hand in hand, and really the idea here is find a system that is going to stay within your electrical bounds, usually 15 amps, and under 15 amps, figure out your impact force, right? If you're looking at different pressure washers, plug those numbers into this formula. Try it out. In fact, I will show you something here. I went ahead and hopefully this can help you out a little. I actually made a little calculator that uses this. So if you plug in pressure, flow rate, it spits out cleaning units, which I love because this is actually the most useless column. But it does give you an idea of how much power is being used. It will calculate impact force in two ways. There's the water jet way, which supposedly is pounds. I don't know. And then there's the impact force calculated the way Active calculates it. And I don't know what that unit is either. But what we do know is that they're proportional. A higher score means more impact, more force, more cleaning power. So, and it's really funny when I look at this because your basic electric, 1800 times 1.2 gives you 2160 cleaning units. Apparently, that has more cleaning units than an Active 2.3. All right, we know that that's not true. We know it doesn't work like that. So, for really from now on, use impact force to determine, how much cleaning power you are generating or that you need. I've got a couple examples up here. Active, I always mention them, but they put out a lot of information about their pressure washers. So, when we look at pressure and flow rate, these are the actual numbers that they have put up on their website. So I plug those into the formula, and you'll get the same numbers that they're getting for their pressure washers. I've also got the Ryobi Siamese setup where you have two Ryobis chained together, and they're pumping at the same time, which is a wild thing to do. But this is from Jason at AMI Details. He put up the numbers for his setup, and so that's what I used to generate the impact forces there. And then I went online, looked up a regular gas pressure washer that had 3,300 psi, 2.6 gallons per minute, and you can see that the cleaning units are huge, but it's really only about twice of an Active 2.3. So yeah, the gains aren't as big as we might think. Something to keep in mind is when you're shopping pressure washers, the only way these numbers work is if they exist at the same time. And here's what I'll show you. And I don't really want to call companies out, but at the same time, this is kind of crappy to do. I'm not a big fan of this. But Westinghouse is a popular brand on Amazon. You can get these things everywhere. Not saying it's a bad unit, it's a great little unit. I had a couple of them when I first started detailing, but they say 2100 psi max, 1.76 max GPM, but of course there's an asterisk in there, right? When we see an asterisk like that, it means something. They're it's not that they're lying, they're not lying, but we're being a little deceptive here, right? Yes, 2100 max psi at initial discharge and up to 1.76 GPM without a nozzle. Come on, nobody uses a pressure washer like this. This doesn't make sense. I don't think that this is a fair marketing practice. So when you're shopping for pressure washers, watch out for verbiage like this. They don't, and it's crazy that they do this. So they don't tell you the actual working pressure or working flow rate in their copy. They don't tell you it in the specifications. I had to go and download the manual to find where they actually list it. So your working pressure on this pressure washer is 1800 psi. Your working flow rate is 1.2. So a little misleading, but it's something as I wanted to warn you about as a shopper. If you're about to spend money on this, look out for things like that. All right. But you can take, once you find the right numbers, you can take them, plug them into that formula. You can find the impact force that way. So I hope this helps. You know, pressure and flow rate, they are very related in how they work with pressure washers. It's always going to be a trade off because they have to stay under a certain power limit. So you can't have both. You cannot have both. It requires too much power. So they will always trade off that way. We know that a higher flow rate pressure washer will put down a higher impact force. Don't get tricked into thinking that a higher pressure number means more cleaning power. It doesn't at all. So I hope you enjoyed. We're going to tackle another question soon, and it's going to be about hose length. What matters more, length or... So thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope that you learned something. I know I did. And leave something down in the comments below. If you have a question or have a suggestion, or maybe there's something else that you want to see answered, put it down below. I read them. I try to answer to as many as I can. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.